Well, good morning, friends. Welcome to Here I Stand. Hoping to have the Canadian anthem playing in the background, but some technical details or difficulties have kept that from happening. You know the anthem. You can sing along in your head or sing out loud as you listen to this. What's going on in Canada? We discussed this important issue last week. James and I wanted to return to this important issue today. I'm Pastor Calvin Lindstrom, joined by Pastor James Pittman, New Hope Community Church in Palatine, Church of Christian Liberty in Arlington Heights, Illinois, part of the Christian Emergency League. And here I stand, and for such a time as this, a number of related organizations, ministries trying to get the word out as best we can. So, what's happening with our friends up north? James and I both have some updates. Some of this may be on the news. Some of this may not be covered by the news. Um, I wanted to share what I thought. Let me begin with on Facebook, a man by the name of Jim Garlow. I think I know the name, but he's been covering this issue quite a bit. One of the latest things is this is day 7 of 7 days of a Jericho march. So Thursday is the 7th day, and they're going to be marching around the Parliament building in Ottawa 7 times today. And he gives a schedule on this at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's about 2 hours from the recording here. They will
Mhm.
end the Jericho March at the main stage. They'll invite men, women, and children across the world to honk horns for 7 minutes. And then there's several pastors and at least one other person that is going to be sharing. So that's interesting. A Jericho March in
And who is this
uh,
again, Pittman? Who is this
well,
again?
this guy is Jim Garlow on Facebook. I know the name. I'm not his friend directly, but he was posting information about
Mhm.
what's going on in Canada. And then here's another story. This was interesting. Trudeau voices support for farmers in India who blocked major highways to New Delhi for more than a
When was
year
this?
in 2021. This was last year.
Last year.
Trudeau is supporting the Indian farmers.
Uh,
Canada will always be there to defend the right of peaceful
oh,
protest. Anyway, touche,
interesting. How
Trudeau.
interesting.
Then this was an interesting article. We can't speak when you have a large group of people, James, as you know,
Yep.
can't speak for all of them. But
Yep.
but
So,
here he's talking about how they were singing, these truckers were singing, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God."
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that,
Mm-hmm.
this was not just a raucous, a Nazi
Yes, it was.
gathering. They're
Of
singing
course it was.
Amazing Grace, the doxology, um, that this is quite a testimony of what's going on in Canada. At least this one group of people. Um, I like this. Mandates are being lifted around the world because the science has changed. The science has 18 wheels.
Yeah.
I
That's
thought that was that
good.
was good. Anyway, so that's something going on there in Canada. Then here, if you want the New York Slimes, this is they're saying Ontario provincial police mobilize in possible preparation to disperse protesters. Then in Canada toughens the stance on protest. This was from about a week ago, 6 days ago, that Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, was warning protesters who did not clear transit routes that they could face a penalty of $100,000.
Well, he's
I
changed, hasn't he? He's changed.
Doug Ford, yeah,
Yes, Ontario, because I played a clip with him yesterday that said we're done with this COVID stuff. Let's get rid of it.
yeah. Well, then
Changed.
this is Newsweek. anyway, Canadian truckers leave last U.S. border blockade. The crossing reopens. This was yesterday, Newsweek. Wednesday, Canadian trucker protesters left the last U.S.-Canada border blockade, allowing the crossing to reopen. So I think some of those blockades, James, have ended. But,
but in
there is
Ottawa,
still, that's not the end of the protests, though.
yeah, in
So
Ottawa,
what?
we're still there. And the Ottawa the guys in Ottawa said those that are blocking that border crossing, that's not them.
Okay,
I did hear one
interesting.
guy say that that's not them. He says, "Hey, it's a protest, and I'm not saying we're against them, but that's not us. That's not the
Right.
freedom.
Okay.
It's not the freedom
So
movement."
anyway, James, did you want to share something about
I
what you were
think
finding there?
Mr. Trudeau may have stepped in it, and he might be in trouble. The reason why I say that is I'm going to play a series of 3 clips that actually show what is going on in Canada in the Parliament, and it is not looking good for as he's now belovedly referred to as Castro Jr.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
here's the first of 3 clips right here. Here we go.
Okay. Let's play this.
Optimistic, hopeful vision for public life isn't a naive dream. It could be a powerful force for change. If Canadians are to trust their government needs to trust Canadians. Those are the words of the Prime Minister in 2015. These people, very often misogynistic, racist, women haters, science deniers, the fringe. Same Prime Minister 6 years later as he fans the flames of an unjustified national emergency. So, Mr. Speaker, when did the Prime Minister lose his way? When did it happen?
You're right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. We will choose to stand with Canadians who deserve to be able to get to their jobs, who be able to get their lives back. These illegal protests need to stop, and they will, Mr. Speaker.
All right, that's the first one.
Okay.
As you can see, what did he just do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my. And the Conservatives in the Canadian parlor pounced.
Okay.
And
Good.
boy, did they pounce.
Uh-huh.
Here's the first video in which the same young lady who stood up initially, here's what she said. Woo!
Okay. Let's play this.
Thank you. Now we have a point of order. The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, I am a strong Jewish woman and a member of this House and a descendant of Holocaust survivors, and I have never it's never been singled out, and I have never been made to feel less, except for today when the Prime Minister accused me of standing with swastikas. I think he owes me an apology. I'd like an apology, and I think he owes an apology to all members of this House.
So she does that. She does that. He refuses, and then you have another gentleman who followed up, and this is brutal. This is a little longer, but it is brutal. It is brutal, and I love the way their government works like this.
The English Parliament is fun to watch.
I love it.
Also.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And so look at this response with this gentleman here. I think this might have been a death blow to Trudeau. If we'll see how this goes. But look
This
at this.
is this from yesterday, James?
I believe so. I believe
Okay.
so. If it's not from yesterday, it was from the day before, but I believe it was from yesterday.
shameful and dishonorable remarks coming from this Prime Minister. My great-grandfather flew over 30 missions over Nazi Germany. My great-great-uncle's body lies at the bottom of the English Channel. There are members of this Conservative caucus who are the descendants of victims of the Holocaust. For the Prime Minister to accuse any colleague in this House of standing with the swastika is shameful. I'm giving the Prime Minister an opportunity. I'm calling on him to unreservedly apologize for this shameful remark.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve their freedoms back. Mr. Speaker, these illegal blockades that have continued to interfere with people's livelihoods, to interfere with people's daily lives,
Have to interrupt the Honourable Prime Minister, so ask everyone to calm down so we can hear the answer. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the measures put forward in this Emergencies Act are proportional, are responsible, and quite frankly, are completely folded within the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The steps that we are taking are important and measured to restore order and freedoms to Canadians in this country. That is exactly what we are doing.
Well, member for Sturgeon River.
So if you notice, his pressure is a little, his speech is a little pressured there, and he did not apologize. But I love it that they didn't let him off the hook.
Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the lack of an apology from that Prime Minister speaks volumes. I have given this Prime Minister an opportunity to retract a shameful remark where he would accuse any honourable member of this House to stand with a swastika. As I said before, we have colleagues who are the descendants of victims of the Holocaust. I'm giving the Prime Minister one more chance. Will he apologize to all members of this House?
That's the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, even as the members of the Conservative Party are calling to us to take more action over the past 2 weeks on this, they continued to stand with and encourage these illegal blockades. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are watching carefully and see exactly where the Conservative politicians who've stood with those blockades are standing. We will stand on the side of Canadians who deserve their lives back, who deserve their livelihoods back.
Delurve.
Yes.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I didn't write these out. But the fact is, I don't know how any member of the government caucus can stand by this Prime Minister when he accuses honourable members of this House of standing with a swastika. I'm calling on all members of the Liberal caucus to denounce the Prime Minister. I have given him two chances to apologize. He has refused to apologize. Mr. Prime Minister, apologize.
And so, I mean, listen to the cheers. Listen to Trudeau is he's clearly in the minority on this issue.
Yeah.
And watch how flustered he is, his response.
Once again, I want to remind the honourable members, I know this is getting emotional, but place your questions through the Speaker, not directly to each other. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These illegal blockades have been going on in Ottawa for 20 days now. People have been interrupted in their daily lives, have been made to feel fearful, have been made to miss shifts at their work across southern Ontario. These are things that cannot be stood for, which is why we're moving forward with a responsible set of measures to allow the local police jurisdiction to do their jobs. We continue to defend freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, as long as it's peaceful and legal, Mr. Speaker.
So I think he might be in trouble.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. The premiers have already started to break rank with him. And now, if you notice at the last one, it was brilliant what he does. He says, I'm calling on members of the Liberal Party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So now we're not playing deep. We're not just talking about the Conservatives in his own party. The Liberal denounce him for what he's doing. And oh boy,
Mhm.
it seems like so. I mean, that was a very interesting exchange.
Mhm. Yep, it is.
The
It's beautiful.
conservatives were clearly the aggressors.
Mhm.
They were clearly playing on his side of the view, and so wow,
Mhm.
wow, this is
Yeah,
it's interesting.
it
It's
is. Matt Troella's organization produced a video. Let me share just a portion of this also, James, then
interesting.
about the importance of this.
Wow, wow, they bypassed. Wow, they went around a barricade.
Anyway, I don't know why that video is just not coming in very well, but
Mm,
that there is it is important that people stand up for freedom and
mhm,
truth. So
mhm.
we salute our friends to the north. There
Yes.
is some indication that maybe some of this will start coming to the U.S. Um,
I've heard 2 dates, March 1st and March 5th. Don't know which one is true, but I've heard rumblings the
yeah,
beginning of March.
yeah. And there was some talk they were going to block the Super Bowl. I don't think that would have been a smart thing, to tell you
No,
the
it
truth.
no. That was never. I think that was from
I wonder if that was
Biden administration.
misinformation.
Yeah, I think that was the Biden administration.
Yeah, you don't block the major religious
No,
service in the
no,
U.S., right?
no. And I saw a guy who's part of the organization said we would have never done that. We never even talked about it. It's
Yeah.
not true at all.
No,
It's not.
I don't. That would have served little point.
Yeah, no, they
Um,
would have done that. Yeah,
here's a couple things. It's good and right when people stand up for truth.
yeah,
I'll say though, if there is not a true spiritual rising up, then also with that, then those things can become empty. And that's what I pray that the Lord uses this truly in a deep spiritual sense. That's what this nation needs more than anything is deliverance from the tyranny of the
yeah,
devil.
yeah,
Yeah, we do want to fight against the tyranny of man, and it's right
yeah,
to raise a protest to that. But this is where I'm both hopeful, but also this is what I pray for. It's good to be against mass, but if you're masked by the devil, and you get rid of your physical mask,
yeah,
but if you're still blinded by Satan,
yeah.
you're
Still,
in no better place, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I think that's the message that we are bringing. True freedom has to
yeah,
begin with Christ.
yeah. But you know what, Calvin? This leads into. I think at some point we need to take this up and start to bring people on the show to do this. This is why the church should use this to its advantage. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to start because we were formerly with the Southern Baptist Convention. We no longer are.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be good if like-minded churches who are willing to stand up for truth would partner. And every church
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to agree on every form of doctrine,
Right.
but the gospel in its essence
Yes.
that changes hearts and changes sinners.
Yeah.
And we need to and we need to be able to agree on what sin is,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And we clearly do. And the
Mm-hmm.
churches that agree with that, we need to start working together. There was a letter that was sent to the churches recently, said that a school, Jane Addams, is holding an after school program. A Satanic Club is having an after school meet and greet
Yeah.
on a monthly basis. And so I was just about to call the principal here because there's a Jane Addams
Mm-hmm.
in Palatine, but it was a Jane Addams in Moline, Illinois, not
Mm.
Palatine, Illinois.
Wow.
And so if it was in Palatine, Illinois, that is something that I think a few churches in the northwest
Oh
suburbs
yeah.
could have at least
Yep.
united on
I
the
know, James.
issue.
Right.
And you walk into the principal and says,
Yep.
what is it about and what text, what material
Yep.
that is written about Satan that you
Mm-hmm.
find is
Yep.
appropriate to push the children?
Yep. Oh, I know.
You know, and if one church does it, that's one. If 5 churches do it,
I know.
if 50 churches combine
Yeah.
together to do that and speak out in the public,
Mhm.
that would be more powerful.
Yes.
I think it is needed.
Yep.
And when I get off this podcast, which I'm gonna do a little sermon prep, but I'm also going to sit down and start to put pen to paper again. I'll share the document with you, Calvin.
Mhm.
But this is something we really need. We really need to do. Take advantage
Yeah.
of the upheaval, the social upheaval.
No, you're right, James.
going
Otherwise, yeah, there is, yeah, the forces of evil seem to go unchallenged.
Mhm.
And you know, the apostle Paul, you say, okay, he was focused on preaching the gospel, no doubt.
Yep.
But he is also preaching in very public places.
Absolutely.
And you could
Public
say,
places,
you know, his sermon on Mars Hill,
Yes.
you know, it's an evangelistic message, but he's
Absolutely.
also, you know, he's pointing to their idolatry, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
he's preaching to members of the political class there, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's, you know, the job of the minister is not to lead political campaigns, but
Correct.
the part of the job of the minister must be to expose evil.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
we cannot just let evil
Absolutely.
be publicly displayed, like in the school setting or
Yes.
in other measures. You know, we were attempting to do some of that at school board meetings.
Yep.
You know, a few churches only, right?
Yep.
Only a
Yep.
few pastors and churches. James, you and I were there at those meetings. You know, there was a handful. It's like some
Salt
of it,
of the
yeah.
earth, light of the world. They
Right.
forgot that part. They didn't read that part in Matthew
No,
5.
right. And that's where yeah, you know, some of the movements and we've talked about this in the past, James. Politicians love to use Christians
Yeah. Oh, of course.
and then discard them.
Of
And
course.
some of these massive Christian organizations, I think, get used in various ways. We're not talking about we're talking about Christians standing together, not forming, you know, some big fundraising organization.
Yeah.
We're talking about, hey, we have a duty to each other, and this is an important thing, James. As denominations can be a good thing. They can when they function as they should.
Yes.
They can accomplish a lot in terms of mission opportunity, church
Yes.
planning, other things.
Yes.
What we're talking about here, these are local churches that we're working together. And I think there's the denomination and then there's the independent church. What we're talking about is the networking of local churches, which is, I think, something, you know, it's not like what we're talking about is entirely new, but it's something that I think has to be considered more carefully so that we recognize there's a broader body of Christ, that we're working together and where appropriate taking action, calling out evil together. I think
Yeah.
that's what you're
Yeah.
that's what
Absolutely.
you are speaking of, and that is something you do see in Scripture. The church in Jerusalem, I think that was a network of churches, right? They weren't all gathering in the
No. Correct.
new St. Peter Church, all 20,000 believers there.
Yeah. They weren't. They
So
weren't.
that is another when you speak of the Church of Chicago, for example, the networking of gospel believing, Bible preaching, sin calling churches, right? I think those were some of the terms you used, and I agree with that. So
Yes. Yes.
we need to pray and consider what that looks like.
Absolutely.
So
Let's
James,
do
I'll give you the final word there on this.
it. Kiss the sun, lest he be angry.
Yeah, that's we gotta.
We got to do it. You know what? The reason why I haven't moved on to Kiss the Sun is I don't know who my rep is going to be. They haven't finalized it.
Yeah.
And so whenever I talk to Paul and whatnot,
Mhm.
we're just not sure. So I don't know.
Yeah, there is some uncertainty with that.
But doesn't that have to be? Aren't the elections? No, the elections are next year. They're not
Well,
this year.
no. The elections will be this November. Primary will be in June.
Yeah, they got, if it's going to be in June, they need to hurry and finish this.
Correct.
These redistricting.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, the primaries I think are in June. It's all been delayed. You know, this should have been done in I think normally our primaries in February,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
right? But it was all delayed because of the maps, and I don't know if they're blaming COVID, whatever. But so yeah, the general election, and this is where politicians are shortening the legislative season in Springfield because of all of this, which is good and bad. I'll say. The bad
Yeah.
is they're going to try to force a lot of stuff through quickly. The good is they don't have as much time to try to get it all done. But the bad is there could be, I mean, you see, there's a lot of stuff going on already. So we need to be vigilant on these matters.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, friends, we'll call it a day here. Let us know if you have questions or comments. Be in touch, be in prayer. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.